Would you believe me if I told you Victor Wembanyama is the favorite to win the Rookie of the Year award over guys like Chet Holmgren and Scoot Henderson? Well, of course you'd believe me. Victor winning Rookie of the Year is one of the most popular preseason and now early season predictions among fans. And in one of the most highly anticipated debuts for a rookie in over 2 decades, a future filled with MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year awards, and multiple championships seems like a real possibility. So let's get it started with a nationally televised game, the Wemby vs. Luka show, a new NBA rivalry, the Battle of Texas. LeBron had 25 in his debut. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had 29 and 12. I just know Wemby's gonna steal the show and drop 30 or something. This kid is the next generation. Well, at least that's what everybody thought, till he got outplayed by this man, Derek Lively II.
Confident stroke. Wow. Things, even if it's not involved directly with your
Doncic lobbing it up. Lively.
To them winning a championship, but Derek Lively with the big finish. Okay.
His three rolls off, but look at Lively.
Derek Lively was the 12th overall pick in last year's draft. And on the second night of the NBA season, with over 2.9 million people tuning in to watch Victor Wembanyama put on a show, they were able to witness a show. Just not the one they signed up for. Lively had a loud 10-point third quarter filled with lobs and ones, and he outscored and out-rebounded the man that everyone came to see. This NBA season feels different. After another long offseason, the NBA is back. Some things have changed and others haven't. Derek White shaved his head, and for whatever reason, it's turned him into a prime Ben Wallace. Luka is continuing to carry what is once again a top-heavy Dallas roster, and Dillon Brooks still has a Steph Curry problem. Some things they just don't change. But the obvious big change has been Victor Wembanyama. Despite not playing some of his best basketball on the offensive end yet, he's shown how exceptionally great he can be on the defensive end. He has the ability to guard anybody on the floor. He'll swat your measly little jump shot into the earth. If you try to dunk on him, you're probably not the smartest person in the world. But it's okay, dude, just get the rebound and then get embarrassed again. Oh my god. Oh, are you trying to drive to the net from all the way over there? I'll take that and then dunk it with my head at the rim. It's a little ridiculous. Victor has the tools to go down as one of the greatest defenders of all time, if not the greatest. So would it be crazy to think that he could win the Defensive Player of the Year award in his rookie season? In 1956, the NBA introduced the Maurice Podoloff Trophy, also known as the MVP award. And 27 years later, in 1983, the NBA came to their senses and realized that defense is just as important of a component as offense is, resulting in the introduction of the Defensive Player of the Year award. And would you like to take a guess of who won the first ever DPOY award out of these 3 players? It's pretty obvious, right? Except it isn't. It was Sidney Moncrief, a pest on the defensive end and arguably one of the best defenders at the shooting guard position in NBA history. But his first of back-to-back Defensive Player of the Years was nothing exceptional numbers-wise, which is where these awards aren't so black and white. The Rookie of the Year award is pretty clear-cut. It goes to the best performing first-year player. The Sixth Man of the Year award, the best performing player off the bench. Most improved player, the guy who made the biggest improvement in stats from one year to the next. Pretty black and white. It's easy to determine who the winner is, which is the polar opposite for the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year awards. They've had a long history of questionable and confusing winners. Does it go to the player with the best stats? The player who has a higher seed? The guy with the best narrative? It's never been clear. The Most Valuable Player award doesn't always go to the player who offers the most value to his team, because if it did, James Harden would have won the MVP in 2019. In one of the most highly debated MVP races of all time, Giannis Antetokounmpo was crowned as the Most Valuable Player, finishing with over triple the amount of first place votes that James Harden got. But the numbers seem to favor Harden much more. He scored more, he assisted more, averaged more steals, and held his own in advanced stats. But what the numbers don't take into account is the narrative. Tell me which is the better storyline. A guy looking to record back-to-back MVPs who scored at a historic rate with 36 points per game, but he did it with a playstyle that many fans and former players believe to be not true basketball. Or a player that has never won the MVP, he grew up poor in Greece, wasn't drafted in the top 10, and has finally fulfilled his potential, leading his team to a 60-win season. And an MVP would be a cherry on top to a feel-good story for the NBA and the entire sports world. Who do you have as the MVP now? See, the narrative holds much more weight than the numbers do, and when you combine above average stats with a great narrative, it makes for a great story. Out of these two players, who do you think walked away with the MVP? Take a good look at the stats, pretty obvious, right? But it's not. LeBron with the better numbers and the narrative of the villain who ditched his hometown team to play with two superstars, compared to above average numbers with the storyline of becoming the youngest MVP ever and winning it over the most hated player in the NBA. We also saw it this past season when numbers and narrative took a hard right into a toxic conversation around the MVP candidates, and the ridiculous narrative that was thrown out there worked. It also snuck its way into the Defensive Player of the Year conversations a couple years ago, when Marcus Smart won it in 2022. Did he win it because he was the best defender in the NBA? Or was it because no point guard had won it since Gary Payton in 1996? And because Rudy Gobert couldn't win it again because he's been Defensive Player of the Year for 3 of the last 4 years? See, it's not so much about the numbers. The stats are like the appetizer. They're cool and it gives you a little sneak peek. And the main course is the narrative. It impacts your entire opinion and gives you everything that you want, making the appetizer or the stats forgettable. And a good narrative is what it takes to win the big regular season trophies, which brings me back to the question I asked earlier. Would it be crazy to think that Victor Wembanyama can be the Defensive Player of the Year in his rookie season? If we go by the narrative and numbers formula, he may just have the best case to win the award. I know that it's a small sample size, but if Victor were to keep up this type of defense averaging 1.5 steals and over 2 blocks per game, Wembanyama would without a doubt be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. But what would take his case to the next level is his narrative. The most anticipated talent to join the NBA in decades. Despite all the pressure and hype surrounding him at just 20 years old, he wins one of the most highly coveted awards in the NBA, establishing himself as the best defender in the league in his rookie season. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? And that's what'll take his case for Defensive Player of the Year from great stats to, oh my god, what a great story not just for basketball, but for all of sports. Victor has the numbers and the narrative, but one thing he doesn't have on his side is history. Winning the Defensive Player of the Year award in your rookie season is nearly impossible. Young players are trying to learn their new teams' defensive schemes while also adjusting to the pace and high talent level of the NBA. Evan Mobley and Jaren Jackson Jr. are 2 of the best young proven defenders in the NBA, but even in their rookie years, they didn't come anywhere near the conversation to win Defensive Player of the Year. Like, they didn't even get a vote. No one has ever been able to pull it off in their rookie year. Well, almost no one. In 1986, the race to win the Defensive Player of the Year award came down to the wire. It was between 7'7" Manute Bol, who averaged a career-high 5 blocks per game in his rookie season, and a defensively sound Alvin Robertson, who put himself on the map as one of the best guard defenders in the NBA with an average of 3.7 steals per game. Bro was out here robbing dudes. And as the votes came in, it was Alvin Robertson who took home the award. Manute Bol was just 5 first place votes away from becoming the only rookie in NBA history to win the Defensive Player of the Year. That's just heartbreaking, but it wasn't a complete loss historically, because Alvin Robertson was in his sophomore season in the NBA, making him the only player in league history to win the Defensive Player of the Year award in his second season. And that's just about as close as we've gotten to see a rookie take home the award. In fact, here are some of the best defensive seasons by rookies in NBA history, measured by defensive win shares and defensive box plus minus since 1997. Darius Garland's rookie season put him right on the average, but he's still ways away from where most rookies rank. Younger guys like Jason Tatum and Evan Mobley put up some impressive numbers as rookies, and everyone's favorite player Brevin Knight was great defensively. I'm just playing, I don't even know who that dude is. Even though Manute Bol's rookie season was in 1986, I threw him in here because it's as close as we've seen a rookie win the DPOY award. And for good reason, he's damn near off the chart. Oh, and this guy all the way up here? That's Tim Duncan's rookie season, with a defensive box plus minus of 2 and a defensive win share of 7.2, the highest of the last 26 years. And it was only good enough to earn him a tie in 5th place for the Defensive Player of the Year. And then there's Victor Wembanyama's rookie season. You were probably expecting it to be alongside Tim Duncan's, didn't you? I'm not gonna lie, so did I. But it's a small sample size, and I have no doubt that it'll rank up here with the rest of these all-time great defensive rookie seasons. But if one of the greatest defensive first seasons ever couldn't land Tim Duncan into the top 3 in voting and left a 5 block per game Manute Bol as the runner-up, Victor is gonna have to do something historic. And when he's on the court, he has. At the time of this recording, San Antonio is currently ranked 25th in the NBA in defensive rating, which is an upgrade from being dead last a season ago. When Wembanyama isn't on the court, the Spurs allow over 125 points per 100 possessions, which would place them last in the league. But when Victor is on the court, they allow just 102 points per 100 possessions. launching them all the way up to 7th in defensive rating when he's on the court. His unique ability to stretch his arms 13 feet across the court and contest every shot is clearly causing problems for teams, while at the same time making the Spurs a much better defensive team, but only when he's on the court. And if he somehow pulls off the unthinkable and comes away as the Defensive Player of the Year in his rookie season, he would without a doubt be lining himself up to become one of the all-time greats. And when his offense finally catches up to his defensive game, his sights are going to be set on that MVP trophy. Can he do it in his rookie season? Nah, that's crazy, right? In 1960, a 23-year-old Wilt Chamberlain entered the NBA after 2 years in college. You know, just a mediocre 2 years at Kansas, averaging 30 points and 18 rebounds per game. And to say that his game translated smoothly into the NBA would be a complete understatement. In his rookie season, Wilt would average 37 points and 27 rebounds per game. And he didn't even win the Rookie of the Year. Nah, I'm just playing. He did win Rookie of the Year. And the MVP, winning in a landslide with 34 more first place votes than runner-up Bill Russell. And just when you thought 1960s NBA basketball wasn't crazy enough, 22-year-old rookie Wes Unseld won the Most Valuable Player award in this same decade. A feat that's only been pulled off twice in league history, happened just 9 years apart. But when Wes did it, he only averaged 13 points and 18 rebounds, while Willis Reed, Billy Cunningham, and Elgin Baylor seemed to have much more success statistically, which isn't where Wes Unseld did his damage. The previous season, the Baltimore Bullets had a record of 36-46, finishing dead last in the East, given there were only 6 teams in the East, but I mean, last place is last place. And drafting Wes Unseld seemed to do the trick, bouncing back the next season with 21 wins added to their record, and the only major difference to their roster was Wes. In order for Victor to do something that has only been done twice in the 77-year history of the NBA, he'd have to average a stat line similar to a prime, or in this case, a rookie Wilt Chamberlain, or have such a great impact on his team leading them to a possible playoff berth. That would be the only ways to get his name into the conversation for MVP. Despite his unreal potential, there's about a 0% chance that he has a better season than, let's say, Luka, Giannis, or Jokic and steals an MVP. But for the other piece of hardware, I think there's a real chance that he impacts the floor on the defensive end in such a dominant way that he makes history and becomes the first rookie to win the Defensive Player of the Year award. He's got the narrative, so why not?